guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Karen and I'm from Ocean Chicks Films. And if you love horror as much as I do, then you're going to want to hit that subscribe button and turn on all bell notifications so you don't miss an upload. I upload videos usually about 2 times a week with movie reviews, and I'm also working on a really cool horror comic called Haunted Things Paranormal. And if you want to follow along on the progress of that, then check me out on Instagram at Ocean Chicks Films. You guys told me to watch it, so I did. Chopping Mall from 1986, directed by Jim Wynorski, starring Kelli Maroney from Night of the Comet, Barbara Crampton's in this one, Tony O'Dell, Russell Todd. Oh my god, it's science fiction, comedy, and horror all wrapped up into one. And you know what? I've never seen this before, and I can't believe I didn't watch it back then. I don't know what happened. I guess I was busy graduating high school. I'm not really sure. It is a cult classic. So many people love this film now. I really can't believe I didn't see it yet, but I'm glad I did. It's got so much going on, and I delved a little deeper into it like I usually do, and there's so many great things to talk about. So, Chopping Mall, the title. Originally it was going to be called Killbots, but they changed it, and there's a lot of controversy about the name, that the title doesn't fit the movie itself. But I don't know, it takes place in a shopping mall, there are killer robots, it's kind of a slasher film. It kind of adds to the whole quirkiness of the thing for me. Okay, so the story is about these 8 teenagers, or 4 couples. They decide they're going to party after hours in the Park Plaza shopping mall. They get locked in, and there are these brand new robots, 3 of them, that are part of the security system. But what the kids don't know is that the mall itself was hit by lightning, and it affected the computer system, which turns these robots into killer robots that can't be stopped. It seems crazy, but it's actually a really cool concept, and it ends up being a really fun movie to watch. I really enjoyed this one. So let's talk a little bit about the actors in this film. First off, we've got our lead actress, Kelli Maroney, who was in Night of the Comet. I have another video on that if you want to check it out. And she plays Ellison Parks, the lead character, and she was in an interview that I watched recently, and she talked about what got her into acting in the first place, and I thought it was a pretty incredible story. So when she was a kid, her mom would get her to watch movies with her at their home, and it was a really enjoyable experience for her. She got to watch all sorts of things. Some of them were scary even, and she couldn't believe her mom would let her watch stuff like that. And one thing that she picked up on when they would have these moments together is how her mom would react to the movies, how it made her feel. So Kelli thought, you know what, I really want to be an actress and make people feel that way. And I think that's pretty incredible. I also find it very cool that she does most of her own stunts in this movie too. She also did training in Night of the Comet to learn how to shoot guns, and in the interview also she was talking about the fact that guns are actually very heavy. They're hard to hold, and they do have a kickback. So she said when you're acting with the gun and it's not an actual gun, it's lighter weight, you can't just be flailing it around that and let people know that it's just as light as plastic. They're actually heavy. So I think it adds a lot to those scenes. I think it did. Knowing that, watching it, I really can appreciate the effort that she puts into her roles. And this film was filmed overnight, just like Night of the Comet, so that takes a special person to do that too. I think that would be a lot of extra hard work. One thing they asked her in this interview too was that, you know, was there any pranksters or people that joked around, and she said she's never worked on a film where there was joking around was allowed, actually, because she said it's a very serious business. There's a lot of money involved, a lot of people, and it becomes very expensive to do that kind of thing. And you know, I mean, bigger actors do that kind of stuff because they can afford to do that and make that happen. But she said no, she's never ever done that. They took it very, very seriously. Even the scenes with the bugs in the pet store. So this movie is directed by Jim Wynorski, and Jim is known for B-movies and spoofs of horror movies. And he got his inspiration from the time that he worked with Roger Corman. And we all know Roger Corman for all of the great B movies that are out there. So Roger's wife, Julie Corman, is the one who produced this film. And it's interesting because there's lots of references to Roger Corman movies in the movie if you actually look for them. There's a scene where the teens are like watching television and they're watching this old movie. And I think it's Attack of the Crab Monsters. I think that's the one that they have there that's playing. And there's lots of Corman posters and things around in the film. You'll have to go look for them when you watch it. So there's this tiny little scene at the beginning of the movie with Mary Warrenoff and Paul Bartel. So they're friends with Roger Corman, and Mary is actually an artist and she's worked with Andy Warhol. So that's kind of neat. I really like that, considering there's all this sort of poster art throughout the film. Dick Miller plays an excellent janitor in this film, and we know Dick from movies like The Howling or the Twilight Zone movie, so that's kind of cool. Okay, let's talk about a few of the actors in the film. First off, Russell Todd. He would be someone you would recognize from Friday the 13th #2. In this movie, he played Rick. He was also in soap operas as well. I think it's really cool that these 80s movies, a lot of the actors were in soap operas as well. My parents and I were really big into that kind of thing back when I was in high school, so I think that's kind of neat. It's neat because having it been so many years ago, I forget all of these things, but when you see their faces, you think, I remember that person. How do I remember them? And you remember that little part that they played in Another World or in General Hospital or that kind of thing, so that's pretty fun. Okay, and Tony O'Dell played Ferdi, one of the main characters as well, and when I saw him in this film, I thought, I recognize that guy. How do I know that guy? What have I seen him in before? Racking my brain. And I thought, was it Footloose that he was in? And then I thought, okay, I better look it up. So I researched it. And he was in Karate Kid. And I was like, oh, I remember that. And I loved Karate Kid back in the day so very much. Loved Ralph Macchio, and I actually did a drawing. This must have been just when I started high school around that time. I did a pencil drawing of Ralph Macchio and I submitted it to Teen Beat magazine, and it got accepted for publishing. So they published it in the magazine. I got a check for $10, which was like big money back then. You're in high school. It was years ago. Published in it, and what was really cool was that in that issue of Teen Beat magazine, Ralph Macchio was featured in it, and they had a centerfold poster of him in it, and my drawing got published. So I thought, oh my god, he's seeing my drawing, I just know it. I doubt it, but it was cool to dream like that anyways, and it was a cool moment. I don't even know if I have that magazine still. I have to look through my files and see if I still kept it. It's got to be kind of fallen apart by now because that was a long time ago. But it's cool that he was in this film, and once I put it together, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. And I haven't gotten into the Cobra Kai series, but apparently he's in that one as well, so that's kind of cool. And we mustn't forget the lovely Barbara Crampton is in this film, so that's pretty cool. Recently, she's in Jacob's Wife. She was also back in the day in Reanimator and Puppet Master and soap operas too, just like the other ones. So it's pretty neat that she's in this film. And people liken this movie to Dawn of the Dead, but the 1978 one, the original, George A. Romero, I don't know about that. I guess they're both in shopping malls and there are things chasing the people around, but I think they're a little bit different, but I guess I could see people coming to that conclusion a little bit. But I love Dawn of the Dead. The originals, oh my god, those are my top favorite zombie movies. All right, let's talk about the Killbots, the security guard robots. They had a super small budget for this film, like $800,000, and so they had to get creative with the robots. And so they used machine parts and things to put them together, and they were run by remote control. Now these robots were super cool. They shoot out laser beams, they have tasers, they can shoot out tranquilizing darts, and they have these grabber claws. God, I love these things so much. This is classic, super classic. I would love to actually have one or have a model of one in my home. They just make the whole movie. Absolutely. It's so good just for that reason alone. And these robots make this an epic 80s style slasher film. I'm not gonna give away all the details, but there are some classic kills in this film. There's heads exploding, there's people falling from really high heights, there's necks being slashed. It's just awesome. It's kind of a thrill ride. I think you'll really like it for that reason. The lasers make this film so awesome, and I couldn't find out how they did it exactly back then. No computers, right? But I expect they did some sort of a filter overlay on the film or something like that, probably the way that they would have done arcade video games back then. But if any of you guys know how they did it specifically, comment it down below for me and tell me how they did it, because I'd really like to know. I'll dig some more to see if I can find anything about it, but I really couldn't find anything about it. So I'm not really sure, but anyway, that makes it classic. It makes you like, you laugh along with the film because it just makes it so much more fun. And this movie is really classic 80s. There's so many cool things in it, like gum chewing. I had forgotten how much we chewed gum back then. And they show classic, beer cans, and there's screams that are reminiscent of those horror B movies back in the 80s. There is sex and rock and roll, and it's just got it all. It's so much fun. It's a really good time, this movie. And there's even a character named Greg in this movie, and Greg is always fucking things up, aren't you, Greg? So this movie was filmed in a mall, like I said. It was filmed in the Sherman Oaks Galleria Mall, which is kind of famous for movies. Fast Times at Ridgemont High was filmed there as well. And apparently the security guard that was running the thing was really mad because he felt like he was worried that they were going to trash the place, that they were, making damage and that kind of stuff. So he was on their ass all the time throughout. So that's kind of crazy too. I can imagine that because the stuff that they filmed and what they did. Although there's one scene in a paint store where there's like an explosion, and that was filmed on set, not actually in the mall, so they would have completely destroyed the mall if they had used the mall for that scene. But there's a lot of really cool old vintage shops that they feature in there, and one of them that was really neat was called Licorice Pizza, and it's actually a record store, so I thought that was really cool. And then they filmed in a pet store there too. There's a scene where there's tarantulas and spiders and snakes and things like that all over, so that was pretty cool. Kelli Maroney was okay filming that scene because she was in it. The guy that was handling the animals basically was talking about them in high regard, as though they were actors themselves, and telling her all of the different movies that they'd been in. So she was actually more afraid of squishing them or hurting them rather than them hurting her. And the director saw the scorpions and immediately decided, yeah, no, we're not having scorpions in the film. He just couldn't hack it. He couldn't handle the idea of it, so they didn't do that. And also another fun fact, the director was the voice of the sounds that the robots make too, because they had to keep the budget down. They couldn't afford too much with what they had, so they had to work with what they got. Because of the tight budget, they actually had a real short window of time to film this thing, so they did like 20 days at the mall and then 2 days in studio. So that's pretty incredible too, considering all that they got out of it. They must have had to work really hard through the night to finish on time. Because wow, it's a full-length feature film. They did 2 versions too in editing. They did made-for-TV one and one for the theaters, and the made-for-TV one actually has extra footage of the Attack of the Crab Monsters show on the TV, but I don't think that one is available for viewing anymore. I could be wrong about that. Comment that down below if you know different. I'd love to check out that version too. Having said that, it flashes me back. I remember, when I was in high school and movies would come out, they'd be made for TV afterwards, and then they would be slightly changed. There might be scenes that weren't in the movie, or there might be less more stuff cut out of it for time. But I remember that actually. It was really cool. You'd watch and you'd be like, where's the part with the thing? Or, you know, what is this part? I never saw this before. And they would switch it up. That was kind of a big thing, but I guess nobody watches TV anymore really, so we don't have that nowadays. But I thought that was cool. So I guess that's kind of was the starting of this whole thing of having the Blu-rays and the 4K discs that you could watch with extra features and extra highlights and stuff like that. And a little fun fact, in 2011, this company called Dry Country Entertainment actually acquired the rights to the remake of the film, and it was going to have a supernatural twist to it, but nothing really materialized from that. But I really want to see that one. I hope it does come to fruition and we get to see it, because I think that would be really neat. I don't know what they would do with it, but it could be really bad too, I guess. You don't want to mess with a classic, but that could be fun too. So overall, I really liked this film. It was a really fun time, a good experience. I'm more of a fan of that sort of those sort of kills and the effects and the makeup and that kind of thing than I am of modern day stuff when you see these realistic killings on film, like in the movie, for example, say Hostel. I'm not a super huge fan of that, and it bothers me very much that young people go to those kinds of movies and they're laughing as though it's nothing. It doesn't really affect them anymore. I'm not super cool with that. I prefer this kind of stuff myself. I'm really glad that you guys suggested that I watch this. I'm gonna give it 5 shark bites out of 5 because I think it was that good. It's a classic. It's a cult film. It's something worth watching. It's something to have in your collection as well. I hope that if you guys haven't seen it, you'll watch it or rewatch it again and let me know in the comments below what you think. This was super fun. I really had a good time doing this. I'm gonna look for more movies like this. If you guys know of any that you want me to review that are like this, then shoot them my way for sure, and I'll have a look at them. And if you guys like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up because that helps me out a lot, and subscribe to the channel so that you can watch more of my reviews and follow along with my comic book. I'm starting to do more painting with it. I'll be featuring some more pictures in the next little while. I'm really enjoying that project a lot. I can't wait until it's done, and I'll be making a bunch more of them too if it works out. And once again, thank you guys so much for stopping by. I love you all, and I will see you again in probably a couple of days with another movie review. And have a fabulous weekend if I don't see you before then. Bye guys!